welcome to worleytutorials.com. I am Zach, and in this video we're going to be talking about the interface of Photoshop CS6. The very first thing is if you go to File, New, we have a new document dialog box, and this is very similar to Illustrator. So if you haven't seen the intro to or the basics of Illustrator at worleytutorials.com, then you can check that out. So I'm going to breeze through this fairly quickly. If you need more detail, then definitely go watch that video. It's just the Adobe Illustrator Basics new document. That's what it is. So here you have obviously you can name the file what you want. The preset, if you have US paper, it's automatically going to change the entire profile. So you have size, letter size, which means that it's 8.5 inches by 11 inches. It's obviously for print, so you want to make it 300 pixels per inch. And then you would, if you're going to make it for print, you need to make sure that it's in CMYK color. And the 8-bit is basically, it just means the density or how much information is actually in the file itself. Now, you do want to be careful with this because if you're going to send it to print, then, or if you need it needs to be very high resolution, go ahead and do this. But if you notice, my image size is now 64 megabytes. If I change it down to 8, it's going to be 32 megabytes. The other thing that you need to worry about when you're changing this from 16 to, or from 8 to 16, even to 32, is that some of the features are not going to be there because they don't work in 16 or 32-bit. So some of the filters, some of just regular options are not going to be there for you simply because of the bit rate. So 8-bit, it makes it definitely everything works in Photoshop for you. And if you're doing stuff for screen and you have it in RGB mode, then 8-bit is definitely, it's going to be enough. In fact, you can even take the resolution down to 72 because that is the kind of default resolution for anything that you're working in screen. So I'm going to leave this in RGB, 8-bit, 72, 8.5 by 11. I am going to change this to pixels, however. So now we're at 612 by 792. It's still 8.5 by 11. It's just now in pixels. So the background contents, we can make it either white or we can make it a background color or transparent. I'm going to leave it white again for this tutorial. And now because our resolution is so low, our image size is now 1.39 megabytes, which is really, really good because whenever you are working with video, you definitely need to have as small file sizes as possible. So go ahead and hit OK. And because Adobe makes Illustrator and Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects, the layout and the functionality, there's going to be a lot of similarities. For instance, here you have a tab. So if I go to File, New, and I'm just going to hit OK really quickly, then you now have two different tabs for these two different documents. So that's one of the features. So if I have a square there and I want to go to this one, that's fine. Now here's the cool thing. If I get my selection tool, which is right here, I can click and drag this and bring it into the other document. So that's how you can kind of intertwine the different layouts. So if you need to do just like one little element for document 1, but you don't want to mess it up or you don't want to design on document 1, then you can change and go to document 2, make your element and drag it over into document 1. So that's the navigation of different documents within your Photoshop project. Over here on your left of the screen, you have all of your tools. And just like in Illustrator, if you have this little arrow down in the bottom corner, if you have CS6, it's going to be grayed out and you're going to have a little light gray corner. If you're in CS5, and I think CS 5.5 also, then it's going to be all kind of a lighter color and you're going to have a dark corner. But basically what that means is you can click and hold and you'll have more options underneath that tool. So for instance, if I want to use the lasso tool, which if I select it regularly, then it's simply just going to be a way for me to select objects freehand. So I can just trace however I want, and it's going to make a selection out of that shape. If I click and hold, I have the polygonal lasso tool, which means that when I click once and release, then it's going to kind of anchor those points, and then I can go to another point and it's going to make that selection, and it looks like a polygon because you have straight edges. So that is how you find multiple tools. The other thing that is really good to know is filter. You're going to be using this up here at the top a lot. So filter, this is how you get to your blurs and distortions and noise. Also window. If you notice that all of these are in panels, so you have these tabs over here for like color swatches, styles, adjustments. Those are all considered windows or window panels. So if I click on window, let's say I want to deal with, let's see, color. So I'm going to click on this. It's going to bring up color for me. So if you can't find something that's here, you can always go to window. This is really handy if you accidentally grab this tab, pull it out, and you're like, oh, I don't want that. You close it, and now you're like, oh, where are my layers? I have no idea. No worries. Go to window, find layers, open it back up. You're good to go. In fact, you can even put it back by grabbing the tab and dragging it over into this panel and dropping. So there you go. That right there is the best thing ever, because you can customize your workstation or however your document is. In fact, if you go up here to the top, you have this drop down. Essentials is what it defaults to. And you can change the work environment according to what you're doing. So if you want to work in 3D, then you change the workspace. If you're doing photography, then you change the workspace again. And it's going to bring up these tools and make things a little bit easier for you to find according to using photography or typography. And of course, you can drag things around however you want to. If you want to move these panels any way you want, and if you happen to get them a little bit too jacked up and you have no idea what's going on, you don't know where anything is, then you can come up here to the top, click on that, reset typography. You can also save any kind of workspace that you want. So let's say you actually do like to have your layers just chilling out here in the front. The way you can do is click on this little drop down over here and then go to new workspace and save that workspace, and it's going to make it to where all you have to do is go to your saved workspace, and you can work in the most comfortable environment you can in Photoshop. So there you go. That's kind of the interface of Photoshop CS6. In the next video, we are going to be talking about Camera Raw, which is the editing photos in the macro sense. So not quite in Photoshop, but it's an extension